Hi there, dear mommies. This is Sherry Hayes with MomDelights.com. I'm the mom of 15. I've been homeschooling for over 3 decades, and I want to give you something today that will add to your life. So go ahead and find something fun to do, because I'm just going to be talking here. And just enjoy yourself as we dig deeply into the good life in Jesus. So I entitled this podcast, Don't Make Charlotte Mason Cry. And why would I do that? Because I think sometimes we miss the forest for the trees. Sometimes we can get so bogged down into our own thinking, and this is not a criticism because this is me too. We get so used to the factory kind of setting in our brain. We have a factory setting, a factory default setting. Got to produce, got to get it done. Production. And so when we even try to do anything organic, it ends up, I'm not saying that getting things done is wrong. I love the dopamine hit that I get when I actually get the dishes done, or the house is all clean and I can just sit and enjoy it. Nothing wrong with that at all. But I think we just need to balance it with, a little bit of smell the roses, kind of thing. So I've written something, and this is going to be my blog post. I'm going to read it to you, but when you listen to the podcast, you're going to get a lot of extra information that I had in. Okay. And I might miss some things too. I don't know. We'll just see. Okay. So today we're talking about that balance that we need to have. Okay. A dear mommy sent me this email. Hi, Sherry. I could really use your words of wisdom right now. I have 2 upper elementary aged boys. I'm that homeschool mom that's tried all the shiny homeschool things only to be left overwhelmed and broke. LOL. Who hasn't been down that road, right? We are using Ambleside books this year. So Ambleside Online is something free, and they have books and they have all kinds of neat things on there. It's a wonderful, wonderful resource to take advantage of, okay? I omitted some books, but the ones we've been using as scheduled. So she's going according to their schedule. Most readings are independent for my older son, and I'm reading to my younger son. We do Bible together, but I'm finding with so many different books being read in a day per the Ambleside online schedule, we aren't getting narrations or discussions about the books, and much less notebooking, right? Okay, we've all been there. I know we have. Okay, I need help. I like your philosophy. I've watched many of your videos on notebooking, but I don't know how many books on a subject should be read a day or for how long. I don't know if we should notebook every day. I just don't know what to do, and I'm feeling discouraged. I've been there, right? I know you're the one to ask, and I thank God for all you've shared online. Since I know, and this is me, okay, that was her email, and I think it just speaks to so many of us at different times, right? And you might be at this place right now. Since I know many of us struggle with these same concerns, I thought I would use this correspondence as the basis for this week's post and podcast. To begin with, I'd like to tell an illustrative story. Okay. A while back, when our home was full to overflowing with cheerful children, it still has a lot of people in it, but they're not all children anymore, right? It was rare for my husband and I to have a sit-down restaurant meal. For one thing, we couldn't really afford it. For another thing, it was hard to get everybody watched and everything. You know the different things. Okay. One evening, we were invited to attend a business dinner for my husband's work at a swanky restaurant. So we jumped at the opportunity. I dressed in my best outfit and looked forward to some interesting food that I didn't have to cook. Looking at the menu, I wanted to get the most out of the occasion, so I ordered a sample plate, which included fish, shrimp, lobster, crab, scallops, etc. I was looking forward to a platter with little piles of each type of seafood, maybe a little side dish, some sauce to dip it in, or something like that. To my dismay, I was served a bowl of pasta topped with something speckled and pink. Nowhere did I see anything resembling lobster or crab or any other of those delicacies that I so wanted to enjoy. Come to find out, all of these treats had been cooked together until they were a mush. Then some slight seasonings were added along with heavy cream, and the entire mess was ladled over some noodles. I could not differentiate between any of the different elements. It was just one horrid, fishy tasting mess. As my little children would have said, it was yuck. Unfortunately, this is what we have been serving up to our children in public schooling for many decades. We have been forcing them to intake a tad of this and a tad of that, cooking it to mush via the textbooks, and then pressing all of it into one day, a little bit of everything in one day, so that it's impossible to truly enjoy any of it. This is also what we often bring home to our own children when we attempt to homeschool them. I know because I have been so guilty of it myself. I have been guilty of making Charlotte Mason cry. I say this because while I was trying to follow the specifics of her methods, I was missing the heart of her message. Programs such as Ambleside Online with directions can be a great help. They give us a sense of security in the sense that we have goals to aim for, right? This is not a bad thing and can actually add to one's mental and emotional health. However, we need to realize these programs with all their lists are suggestions. They also usually come from someone sitting with a computer in front of them compiling lists of all the possibilities. While it's easy to compile lists, it's not so easy to put those lists into practical application. To keep things in proper perspective, it helps to realize the 4 pillars of an excellent education, and I have posts and videos on this. I will try to link the video below. Okay. Number 1, inspiring the proper relationship between God and man. Number 2, inculcating the tools of education, which is the 3 R's along with research and thinking skills. Number 3, fostering an appetite for important content. Okay. And content, we'll explain. Okay. And 4 is impressing the application of the tools and content. Okay, so besides knowing your relationship with God and man, and you have an ability to read, write, do arithmetic, to think, and to research, and then you have to learn some important content, that gives you an appetite for more of that good content. Okay, and 4th is impressing the application of the tools and content. So you have to know how to apply this to real life. Okay. Now the 3rd pillar, content, is where we usually go overboard. Okay. When we are talking about content, we are including history and math and science. This is what most people think of when they think of education, but it is only one part. When we homeschool, this is what tends to cause us the most concern. Okay, here is a quote we would do well to meditate upon. Okay, it says this: education is not the filling of a pail, but the lighting of a fire. And that was presumably said by W.B. Yeats. Here is a portion of a commencement speech based on this quote. Okay, and they were talking specifically about college, but they said, instruction should not be about dribbling drops of knowledge that students collect as they move from course to course. It should be more like gathering kindling, letting students play with matches, encouraging them to take risks, and hoping that for some the materials burst into flames and become lifelong interests. Well, that should be all of education, right? Not just college. And I got that from Robert Strong, who writes in the Irish Times. Okay. Like a delicious, well-cooked and seasoned meal, education is supposed to nourish both body and soul. It is not supposed to be dutifully shoved down in huge amounts until it becomes loathsome. It's acceptable to offer children a vast array of knowledge as long as it isn't all at once, and as long as we are slowing down enough to teach them how to deeply imbibe and enjoy each aspect. Okay. So let me give you an example how this plays out. So we have a tall pile of books we must get through in order for our children to be properly educated. So we start in reading something like Benjamin Franklin's autobiography. I think it's called the Autobiography of Benjamin Franklin. It's easy, right? And we get to the part about his electricity experiments and his tour as a scientist overseas. This gets us curious. So we start delving more deeply into the subject. We tried duplicating some of his experiments, and some were kind of crazy, right? Which leads to learning about circuits and on, right? Then we want to read some of Poor Richard's Almanac. We've got to. I mean, he wrote it. which causes us to delve more deeply into proverbs and quotes. So we write some of those out and we create a few of our own. There's some in the Bible, we can read those. Then we read about the preaching of George Whitefield, and we want to know more about the Great Awakening, right? And we ponder why old Ben never indicated he ever gave his life to Christ, which is interesting. By the time we are finished with this book, we are only one book down from the entire stack, and we feel as though we have failed. We had such ambitions to ensure our children would have a well-rounded education, and here we have wasted our time on only one book. But have we wasted our time? On a subsequent trip to the library after we're reading this book, we are amazed with what books our children have checked out. In the book bag, we find more biographies on scientists and historical figures. There are titles on electricity and the history of France. One of the children is inspired by the idea of apprenticing and begins looking into modern versions of the practice. We don't need to assign these books because our children don't mind reading them on their own. In fact, we might find it hard to drag them away from all the quality literature they want to read when it's time to make their own choices. Then, when we begin the next book in the stack, we are elated with expectation. Instead of reading out of duty to get a task done, we are reading out of joy, and we can't wait to go exploring together. After years of this type of learning, our children become aflame with inspiration. They no longer need someone to lead them forward with a carrot on the end of a stick. They are using that stick to build the flame higher. Warning, learning this way will not get you through your stack of books or help you check off boxes on a list. However, it just may give you and your children some of the most fun, interesting years of your lives together, and it might have made Charlotte Mason smile. I hope I've cast a vision for you today. I hope I've set you free, and there's no condemnation. If you're in that spot, don't feel bad. Everybody gets there. And you know what? If you have someone over your shoulder making you go through those books, my sympathies. You know what? Allow God to take that situation and help you even through that. Because I know that when we trust God and we remember Romans 8:28, God is working all things together for the good for those who love Him, for the ones who are called according to His purposes. And when we can trust Him and look for the good in every situation, you know what? We have a great expectation. Our faith increases and allows God the room to make those amazing, faith-filled ideas and dreams come true. Always remember, He is always working in your life to do good, no matter how awful it looks. So I hope that blesses you. I hope you have a wonderful day. Now, I won't say that again, right? Like and subscribe and bells and all that. Bye-bye.